Welcome back second prep وحلقة جديدة في continuing our science syllabus together تحت رعاية وإشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. بدأنا الحلقة اللي فاتت عن lesson 4 وكنا بنتكلم عن الووتر وعرفنا ايه الموليكيول. The water molecule consists of how many atoms? 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. وعرفنا كمان ان بتربطهم 2 single covalent bonds وان الاكسجين has higher electronegativity عن الهيدروجين، عشان كده بيكون لي electrostatic attraction between the oxygen atom in a water molecule and the hydrogen atom in another water molecule. وخدنا كمان ايه هي uses of water والsources of water also. بدأنا properties of water في الحلقة اللي فاتت وكنا بنتكلم عن in الwater it is a good polar solvent and it has low density when it freezes. There's electrolysis of water and that water is very special and exists in 3 states at ordinary temperature. وقلنا ان انا ممكن الاقي الووتر عبارة عن ice which is solid in room temperature، ممكن يكون in a form of liquid like water and water vapor which is gas. طيب تعالوا نبدأ مع بعض with the first property of water. أول حاجة بيقول لي إيه؟ بيقول لي identifying water as a polar solvent. And this experiment أنا عايزاك تجربها مع نفسك inside your kitchen or at home. You will ask to bring. تعالوا نشوف إيه الحاجات اللي إحنا محتاجينها عشان to prove that water is a good polar solvent. Number 1, 3 beakers. At home أنت ممكن تجيب 3 cups. Table sugar سكر. Table salt ملح طعام. و oil زيت. And stirring spoon a spoon معلقة. طيب إيه الsteps بقى؟ I will bring my beakers 3 beakers and I will fill them with water. The first one I will add table salt and the second one I will put sugar and the third one I will add oil. What do you think? Which one will dissolve and which will not dissolve? But let's look at our activity. بيقول إيه؟ بيقول لي steps. Fill the 3 beakers with water. Put in the first beaker a spoon of a spoon of sugar and a spoon of salt in the second beaker and drops of oil in the third beaker. Then stir the contents of the 3 beakers. What will happen? Which substance dissolves in water? Of course احنا عارفين ان salt and sugar will dissolve. طب what are the tastes of the first and second solution? طبعا if it's salt it will be salty and if it's sugar it will be sugary. طب what about oil? Will it dissolve? I think it will not dissolve. طب ايه conclusion بتاعي؟ ان في some of the substances dissolve in water and some do not. طب why? Because water is a good polar solvent. احنا عارفين ان التيبل salt it is an ionic compound عبارة عن NaCl a metal and a non-metal. طيب يبقى most of the ionic compounds can dissolve in water while some of the covalent compounds like sugar also dissolve in water. So why do they dissolve in water? Because they form a hydrogen bond with the water dissolved in it. احنا عارفين ان الاكسجين inside the water molecule has higher electronegativity. When another compound or another substance enters the water, if it contains a hydrogen atom, it will form a hydrogen bond between these molecules. But that's why some of the ionic compounds dissolve and some of the covalent compounds dissolve inside water. And it's a very, very nice experiment for you to try at home. طيب, let's continue. So احنا متفقين in water it is a good polar solvent. Let's sum up this part. بيقول لي water is a good polar solvent as most of the ionic compounds as table salt and some of the covalent compounds like sugar dissolve in it forming a hydrogen bond with water. Here we have a very nice picture sugar and salt, and they are dissolved in water. What's meant by water has high boiling point and high melting point? We know that matter can change their states. Like water, it can change into ice, and ice can change back to water, and water can change into water vapor, and water vapor can change back into water, and so on. So states of matter concerning the water, they can change. طيب لو أنا changing water into water vapor or melting a piece of ice, what is the temperature at that point that the ice starts to melt or the water starts to change into water vapor? It's a fact. I'm telling you now facts. Water has high boiling point and melting point. طب نتيجة إيه؟ نتيجة وجود الهيدروجين bond between the water molecules. طيب what are these degrees? Number one, the boiling point of water. يعني إيه كلمة boiling point? It is the temperature at which the water changes from its liquid state to gas state at this type of temperature. طب التمبerature دي ايه؟ 100 Celsius. The water starts to boil and change into water vapor. طب what is the freezing point؟ يعني changing what؟ Freezing معناه ايه؟ معناه changing water in a liquid state into ice which is a solid state. طب what's the freezing point of water؟ It is less than 0 Celsius. Less than 0 Celsius. But pure water in normal atmospheric it boils at 100 Celsius. And also pure water freezes at 0 Celsius. طب ده نتيجة لإيه؟ نتيجة لوجود الهيدروجين bond between the water molecules. يبقى this is why, due to the presence of hydrogen bonds between the water molecules. Let's move on. Water is neutral. فاكرين لما اتكلمنا عن الاسيدز والبيزز في lesson 1 وقت الكيميكال اكتيفيتي سيريز وقلنا ان في violet litmus solution في المعمل and in labs you find violet litmus solution in a form of solution or paper. Water has a neutral effect. يعني ايه neutral effect؟ يعني doesn't change the color of the violet litmus paper or solution. يعني لو أنا حطيت drops of violet litmus solution on water, it will not change its color. Why? Because water is neutral. يجي سؤال هنا يقول لي why is water neutral? The answer will be it has a neutral effect on litmus solution. طب what about the acids؟ إيه الإفكت اللي بيعملوا على litmus paper؟ Acids change litmus paper into red, and bases change litmus paper into blue. But water doesn't change the litmus paper. That's why it's neutral. And this is our second property. Let's move on. Water has low density when it freezes. طيب أسألكوا سؤال. Bring 3 cups of water. Put or draw 3 cups of water and put a cube of ice when you draw a cube of ice. وانت بترسمها هترسمها فين؟ In which part of the cup? You will draw it at the bottom of the cup or the middle of the cup or at the top. بمعنى أنا لو عندي 3 cups like this and I put water inside each cup. Say مثلا the cup A, cup B, cup C, and I will put a cube of ice. Which one is correct? Which position of the cube of ice is correct? I'm going to choose A. طب why? Because the density of water when it's in a solid state, it is less than the density of water when it's in a liquid state. طب ليه؟ ايه اللي بيحصل؟ وايه الخطوات اللي بتتم في الووتر كومباوند علشان الفينومينا دي تتقال كده؟ ليه density when the water gets solid is less than the water when it's in its liquid state? We will discuss it together in details. طيب يبقى أنا I know that the water density when the water freezes it's less than the water density when it's in a liquid state. The density of water when it's in a solid state is lower than the density when it's in a liquid state. طب why does this happen? Because when the temperature decreases less than 4 Celsius, the water molecules are collected. They are collected. The water molecules are collected by hydrogen bonds, which is found between the water molecules. And large-sized hexagonal crystals are formed. And they're نتيجة collecting of the hydrogen bonds دي بيعمل إيه؟ بيعمل hexagonal crystals بيبقى فيه ما بينهم spaces كتيرة جدا. فبيحصل إيه للدنسيتي؟ density decreases. The density decreases and we will discuss this in details. طيب زي مثلا شايفين هنا الايس متكون على السي او الاوشن في الاتلانتيك اوشنز in the North Pole or the South Pole. درجة الحرارة بتبقى تحت الصفر، بتبقى very very cold. The ice starts to be formed on the surface of the water. طب why this phenomena happens? We will discuss it. Did you ask yourself about the reason of the explosion of bottles when we put it in the freezer? We will discuss why. طيب ده شكل الهكساجونال crystals after the water changes into ice. بس عشان نوصل للمعلومة دي let's discuss in details what happens to water when it freezes and why ice floats on water and why aquatic creatures are alive under frozen water. Let's see it together. Okay. تعالوا نشوف مع بعض why does ice float on water, why creatures and aquatic creatures are alive under frozen water, and why water when it freezes has low density. I will imagine a pond or a part of a pond. This pond consists of aquatic creatures here, and this is water. Okay? When the water surface meets cold air, what happens? Number one, the intermolecular spaces decrease. Okay? Number two, the intermolecular force decreases. Okay? And the density starts to increase until all the water becomes 4 Celsius. At this degree, a red lamp lights up. وسبحان الله بيحصل reverse action لطبيعة وخواص المية. بيحصل إيه؟ إن فجأة بنلاقي بعد درجة حرارة 4 Celsius the IMS increases and the volume of the water increases and the density starts to decrease, and then the ice floats up. It floats up here. Okay? تكون لي طبقة من الايس on the liquid water. يبقى هعيد تاني. The IMS starts to decrease, so the volume starts to decrease, okay? And then the density increases until all the water reaches 4 Celsius. At this degree, the water reverses. So the IMS increases and the volume increases and the density starts to decrease. That's why ice starts to float on the water, which is a liquid state, and the ice also is kept on the surface of the water, keeping the aquatic plants and the aquatic creatures alive. طيب ايه درجة ال temperature at this time? It is 0 Celsius. And then we move down till we reach 4 Celsius. Okay, let's continue our lesson. عرفنا ان الووتر density when it freezes is less than the water when it's in its liquid state. طيب تعالوا نشوف مع بعض مجموعة من ال questions variant questions تخدمنا في الليسن ده. Please start preparing your A4 paper and try to answer these questions before we answer it together. طيب أول question بيقول لي two equal masses of pure water. One of them is 20 Celsius and the other one is 2 Celsius. Which of them has the larger volume? Has the larger volume? Of course, 2. طب why? Because under 4 Celsius, the water molecules are collected by hydrogen bonds, forming what? Forming large-sized hexagonal crystals, as we saw before, with many spaces between them. يبقى أكيد اختيارنا هيبقى 2 Celsius, not 20. Because 20, this means that water is in its liquid state. Okay, so the volume will be less. Mention what happens when the temperature of water decreases than 4 Celsius. Water changes into ice, of course. طب why? Because when the temperature decreases less than 4 Celsius, the molecules are collected. Are collected by the hydrogen bonds, forming large-sized hexagonal crystals with many spaces between them. طيب تعالوا نشوف مجموعة choose. The ratio between the density of water at 4 Celsius is what to the density at 0 Celsius. نسأل بعض سؤال. Which one has less density? Of course, اللي عنده أقل من 4 Celsius, which is 0. So this ratio will be what? More than 1 or less than 1 or equal to 1? Of course, more than 1. Number 2, the density of pure water in solid state is what compared to 1 gram per cubic centimeter? 1 gram per cubic centimeter, it is the density of water in its liquid state. طب if the water changes into solid, into ice, طب ال density ده هيبقى compared to the 1, will it be less or more or equal? Of course, it will be less than 1 gram per cubic centimeter. طيب, number 3, when we put 1 kilogram of water at 4 Celsius in the freezer to change it into ice, its mass, remember when we took in first prep that density D equals mass over volume? What is the relation between density and mass? Density يعني D على 1 صح؟ يعني كل ما زاد الدنسيتي كل ما زاد الماس، وكل ما قل الدنسيتي كل ما قل الماس. طيب هنا when we put 1 kilogram of water at 4 Celsius in the freezer to change into ice, its mass what? Increases, decreases, don't change. احنا عارفين ان الدنسيتي of water لما بتتجمد لما بتبقى solid بتبقى ice الدنسيتي بتاعها بيقل، وما دام الدنسيتي هيقل يبقى اكيد الماس هيقل، يبقى our answer here will be decreases. طيب let's move on. A group of put right and wrong questions. يقول table salt and sugar are from covalent compounds. هل الاتنين from covalent compounds? For sure not. يبقى wrong. Why? Because table salt is an ionic compound. It is an ionic compound. So it's not a covalent compound. طيب ناخد سؤال كمان. The angle between the two single covalent bonds in water molecule is 104.5. For sure, yes. This is a correct answer. Okay. Are you trying to solve them before we solve it? Please try this. Hydrogen bond is weaker than the covalent bond. طبعا hydrogen bond دي bond نتيجة electrostatic attraction, which is a weak attraction between the oxygen atom in a water molecule and the hydrogen atom in another water molecule. يبقى for sure yes. Okay. Let's move on. Write the scientific term. The bond between. وركز قوي. هي البوند اللي بيسألني عنها دي between what and what? Between the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom in water molecule. So what is the name of this bond? Of course it is the two single covalent bond. ليه؟ لأن هو هنا بيقول لي الهيدروجين اتوم والاكسجين اتوم in a water molecule في نفس الwater molecule. So it's of course the two single covalent bond. Right. Number 2, bond which links the molecules of water together. طبعا الهيدروجين bond. طيب بيقول لي if you have 3 bottles. This question is a very nice question and I love these type of questions. الأسئلة اللي بتجمع ما بين الليسنز بيبقى فيها أسئلة فيها فكر بتقيس مدى فهمك واستيعابك للليسنز. هل أنت بتحفظ الليسن ولا you understood your lessons. The integration between these questions is very important. I want you دايما to practice yourself on new types of questions and you can bring it from many sources. السؤال ده بيقول لي ايه؟ بيقول لي if you have 3 bottles. Bottle 1 has pure water passing in carbon dioxide. Bottle 2 has pure water added to it an amount of magnesium oxide powder. And bottle 3 pure water without additions. بيقول لي how can you differentiate between these 3 bottles. هنا أركز كويس قوي. أنا الووتر ده بيقول لي إن هو passing with carbon dioxide. يعني هو عايز يفهمك إن حصلت reaction ما بينه وما بين الكربون dioxide and water. And we took it in lesson 1 during the chemical activity series when we burned a piece of carbon and then we dissolved carbon dioxide in water. طب ده هيطلع لي ايه؟ اكيد هيطلع لي acid لان هو non metal. Carbon is a non metal which turns litmus solution into red. طيب يبقى هقول له ايه بقى؟ ارتب افكاري. امسك الاول bottle 1 and I will answer it in details. bottle 1 CO2 هحول الجمله بتاعتي لايكويشن. فانا عندي bottle 1 has pure water يبقى H2O passing with carbon dioxide يبقى CO2. يبقى هقول CO2 plus H2O will give me carbonic acid. And because I have a non-metal, it will turn in litmus solution into red because the acids turn litmus solution into red. So I now differentiated bottle 1 from bottle 2 and 3. Let's see what we're going to do in bottle 2. Bottle 2 بيقول لي it has pure water H2O برضو added to magnesium oxide. I change magnesium oxide into MgO. At MgO plus H2O, it will give me magnesium hydroxide. And I know that magnesium is a metal. And metal oxides turn litmus solution into blue because they are bases. طيب, if I'm having pure water without any additions, مش احنا اتفقنا ان الwater has neutral effect on litmus solution? So only water, bottle 3, which has only water, nothing added to it, it will be a neutral effect on litmus solution. It will not change its color. And this is a very beautiful question and it makes an integration between the lessons together. طيب, تعالوا نشوف معانا آخر سؤال النهاردة. Study the following figures, then answer the questions. What is our figure? This figure represents a pond. There are fishes alive down here and there's an ice layer at the top. في ice layer at the top here at point A, this part. And this part, the aquatic creatures are alive. يقول لي إيه السؤال ده؟ Number A, what are the temperature of the points A and B? طيب, الice يبقى of course A, its temperature is 0 and B, its temperature is 4 Celsius. And this is the temperature اللي ربنا سبحانه وتعالى خلق الcreatures إنها can tolerate this kind of temperature and be still alive under frozen water. طيب, at which point the density of water is the largest? ركز معايا كده في الرسمة. density will be more larger where? In a liquid state or in a solid state? طبعا in a liquid state, because the density of water decreases as water freezes or change into ice. So of course it will be point B. And this is our lesson for today, and I hope you enjoyed the first part of lesson 4, water, and I wish you a very happy day, and please study it very, very well and try to integrate between the lessons, lesson 1, 2, and 3, and try to figure out the questions that link these lessons together. Please study well, and looking forward to see you again, and bye-bye.